Well, the next few weeks, as we are done with Ephesians, I asked uh, our elders to share a little bit of their testimony. In the next few weeks, it's going to happen. I'm going to do it today. Next week is going to be Daniel, and a week after that, Pastor Milton. So be ready to see how God is working. Sometimes when we share our testimony, I think we need to continue to focus on how God worked in our life and give Him the glory, and not how miserable our life was. So we can mention that, and it's important to do that, but I think most important it is how God worked in our life. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. Some of you may know what I'm talking. This is not the first time I share my testimony. Some of you, just so bear with me. My name is Yossi. It's my nickname. I was born Yosif. Okay, that's my first name in Romanian. I was born in Romania in the time when Ceausescu was the ruler in Romania. And to a family, I have two brothers and one sister. And I still remember the few things when I was young. One of the things I remember in Romania is that my mom will take me or our brothers or both of us to go to town to go look for bread or other things. And I remember she would put me with her in a line. And it's not like the grocery lines that we have here in America. You know, look, we can get frustrated, right, if we have to wait more than like 3 minutes or 5 minutes at the grocery store, right? But it wasn't like that. The lines was about from here to across the street, okay? And because I was also a child and a little bit I can walk, I was also entitled to buy whatever it is. And so my mom was there, and I or my brother sometimes, and each person gets one or two things, whatever it was. And many times it was the bread we stood in line for, or wheat, grain. We always got it from my grandparents because they had a mill that they took care of that. But so that's what I remember, standing in line. And after standing in line an hour and a half, we get whatever we needed to get. And I remember this clearly as we get off the line, we buy the bread at that time. And my mom sees another line. And she says, "Yo, she's standing in line." And I'm like, "Why?" No, stand in line. Let me go see what we're standing in line for. And that's how it goes. It's at that time, communism, unfortunately, it's like that. And people don't understand that. And I can go a little bit more into that and how we don't appreciate our way of government and the way we have here in America. Because we attended our synagogue in Israel, in Romania, my parents decided to move to Israel. And I think it was about a 5, 6, or 7 years process. I don't know this because I was too young, but I hear about it later. And I know my dad was demoted at his job as soon as we applied. From a second in command on the manager thing of the city, he was demoted to the lowest thing, and on and things. And people knew even at my school that we were leaving, and they constantly told people, these people are crazy, put them down, and it was like that. But praise God, after a while we moved to Israel. We were able to move, and the reason we moved actually is because the state of Israel paid money to Ceausescu for every person to move out. He gave them cash. I think it's $1,000 US back then to every person who left. I remember the first day we went to Israel, arrived in Israel. The airplane, never flew in the airplane before, and it was really interesting. We landed, and they stuck us in this room with a bunch of other people, not too many, and there was food, and it was free. And it was tea and chocolate milk and all the kinds of stuff. And we're like, Mom, can we have it? And she's like, I don't know. So after a while, we got some, and we were hungry because we were traveling, and it's not an easy thing. That was the first impression I got. And then a taxi took us to our temporary apartment. It was Friday night. And nobody told us Friday night in Israel, everything closes for the Sabbath. It's Saturday, next day, and everything is closed. Literally, back then, everything was closed, except the cigarette store that they sell beer and cigarettes and other things. And we were like, they gave us food a little bit, but we finished all that food the first 20 minutes when we got there. We got up a Saturday morning, and my dad was, let's go look for a grocery store because they gave us a little bit of money. Everything is closed. And we're like, nah, we don't know. So finally, my dad started talking to another Romanian guy that has been in Israel for a while. And I remember that because I sat down, and they were talking, and he told my dad what's going on and what's happening. And so that was the first shock to Israel. Second shock in Israel was a few days, I think the next day or day after, when my mom took us children with her to the grocery store. We never seen anything like this before in our life. There was chocolate on the shelf. In Romania, in a grocery store, if there is something, there's only one thing, like bread or milk. Usually in our area, there was no need for milk because we had a lot of farmers. You go and get it. But only one thing. And you go to the grocery store and you see fruit in the grocery store. We were like, whoa, is that for real? We had to poke it to see if it's real. Because in Romania, you have plastic ones just for the show. It's interesting. And we were like so amazed. And my mom says, we're here to buy something. And we all went and got whatever, and we filled up the cart. And my mom is like, she didn't even know what the ratio was, how much she had some money. And finding out that we bought about 5-10 times more than the money we had. And we are at the grocery store over there and putting stuff back. And my mom was so embarrassed. I remember that. But the people there already understood what's going on. The cash register. It's interesting how she knew we are just new in the country coming from Romania. This is the shock. You could have seen the same kind of shock in Israel the same time that a lot of Soviet Union people came to Israel. A lot of Ethiopians when they came to Israel. It was interesting that the Ethiopians, they didn't even understand what a building really was. They didn't see a building till they came to Israel. Most of those people lived in huts in Ethiopia. They didn't know what is a grocery store. They didn't know what was running water and bathrooms and so on and so on. So it's interesting how that country took in so many different kind of people. So growing up in Israel, high school, I didn't do that well. I never graduated high school. I'm not that proud of it, but I'm kind of proud that I finished my GED, and I'll tell you a little bit later. So I had to go to the military, 3 years and 5 months. And after my military service, which is a different story by itself, I got out of the military finally, and I'm sitting at home. Finally, I'm so happy with myself. I'm done. Woohoo! And I'm sitting at home by myself. My brother's in the military, I think, by then. My mom is at work. My dad is at work. And what do? Watch TV. After this, 2 days later, I'm like, I'm going crazy. What am I going to do with this? This is crazy. So I'm starting to look for work some more. I found some more work, and I'm getting into it. It's really awesome because my father is a plumber, and I was working with him for a while. And I learned the trade of the jobs, and people will call, and my dad could not go, so I did. And so I got a few jobs. And I remember this morning, before my dad left to work, he said to me, Yossi, don't forget the tool that you need. It's right here. And I said, oh, yeah, don't forget. I'm getting, it was about 6:30 a.m. I'm getting to work, and so in a harash because I got to be there by 7 and to start and whatever. So I'm driving my car on a road like Timberlake, and the sun is behind me, right? So I'm at the sunrise. And I see the police, like in the Timberlake road, in the middle, like about 3 or 4 cars. And it's like a speed trap for everybody who comes against the sun, so they don't see it because your sun is in the eye. So I'm like laughing to myself, what dummies, they're going to catch a lot of people today. And in Israel, if you speed over so many kilometers an hour, they take your license right there. Like, they don't even talk to you. They give you you take your license, they give you a little thingy, and says you can drive back home, and that's it. And I'm laughing to myself, look at the dumb people, what they're doing. And so as soon as I saw that, my dad called me and says, Yossi, you forgot the tool for this job. And I'm like, oh, man, I make a U-turn, start speeding up towards the police. I completely forgot. I'm like 20 or 30 over kilometers an hour. The policeman says, he didn't even talk much to me. It's like, you're way over, let me see your license. I gave him a license. He's like, here's your little ticket and a slip to drive home. If you want to appeal for this, court date is in 6 months. We took your license for the next 3 months. Are you with me? So I have no license for 3 months, and if you want to appeal for that, your court date can be in 6 months. So go ahead and appeal in 6 months for something that already you are without the license for 3 months. So I'm like, yeah, what am I going to do? And all this time, I'm frustrated with my life. I pray, and I'm sorry, back up a little bit. My family did go to church ever since we moved to Israel. And we found an awesome congregation there. And I accepted Jesus Christ when I was 13. And through difficulty I'm backing up a little bit, in my family, my mom and my dad didn't get along, and they got a divorce when I was about 13. And they got back together after that. They got married, and they got divorced again, and then got remarried again. I don't even know. One time I asked my dad, are you married or divorced? He says, I don't know, ask your mom. But they were staying together, which is funny. So I kept on asking my God, who I asked to be my Savior when I was 13, what is the will for your will for my life, God? What is your will? And God was silent to me. I didn't understand how he speaks, how he talks. And even during military service, God was with me. I can tell you for sure, many places, many times. And I would ask, what is your will for me, God? And then at the end of the military service, God, what is your will for me? Would you direct me? And so I'm fast forwarding that day. I come back, I get my license revoked for 3 months. And what I do is, I still went to work, but I went a different way. I wore my seatbelt, drove speed limit. I didn't get pulled over. Went to work, done with work, 2 days, 3 days, and then I'm like, oh, I don't have a license in case you get pulled over again without a license. That's like, I think, about a year or a year and a half without a license. So I didn't want to take a chance. I had a friend who needed me to work for him, and he was just unemployed. So he was driving his wife crazy at home. So I said, listen, why don't you want me to do a job for you at your house? He says, yeah. How about if I give you half price of whatever you want me to do at your house if you drive me around with my car? So I'll tell you where to pick me up, and I'll tell you, you'll be my taxi driver. He's like, really? Yeah. And he can keep the car all day. I don't care. Just pick me up when I need you. He says, good. The first day he picks me up with another guy in the car, we stand at the stoplight, like any stoplight, and we're about to turn right. On our left was a huge cement truck. Imagine a regular cement truck here in Lynchburg. Do it twice as big, okay? They were doing a lot of constructions in the areas at that time, and they needed big trucks anyway. So we are a little car, like, I don't know if any of you know what a Volkswagen Golf is, or it's similar to a Rabbit, Volkswagen Rabbit. So I was in that car. My friend was driving. I was beside him and another person in the back. This truck beside us at the stoplight, okay, this truck decided to take a right, and we were right there. Okay, and could be that he was half and half and we kind of snuck in, I don't remember, but he was there. And the light turned green, and this truck started going into our lane I remember the wheel is about as high as our whole car, moved us over into the sidewalk with his wheel, with his tire. Literally, my whole side of the car was smashed. And we're sitting there, and the truck left. And we're calling the police, and he got a hold of finally, and the truck driver pulled over back from after he dumped the whole cement. He says, I'm sorry, but I cannot stop. I have to dump the cement. And he came back, and everything was fine. Well, coming up at the whole end is that he didn't see us, and blah, blah, blah. Nobody's fault, and everybody has to fix their own car. He needed to fix nothing on his. And our car was smashed, my car. So I sit there the next day after that, and I'm like, I don't have a driver's license, I don't have a car. Oh dear, what do I do? So, what do? I go to my friend who has a van. And I used to pick up people for church every Friday night or Saturday, depends what day it was. And I would drive that van to pick up church people and bring them to church. And I asked my friend who had that, he was an international CMA worker, can I borrow the van for a few days? He knew what happened, but he didn't know that I lost my license. I kind of omitted that. So I go there that evening and I tell him, can I borrow it? He says, sure, come over. And he sits down with me and his wife and he says, Yossi, now that you're done with the military service, why don't you think about going to college? There's a really nice college in America, Toccoa Falls College, and it's a Christian college, and you should go there. And I said, David, Marilyn, thank you. You're so nice. But I hate school. I didn't even finish or graduate from high school. They're like, oh, don't worry about it. You can still apply and see what happens. And I think I told Marilyn, you know about everything about me. You can even ask my mom and all that stuff. Why don't you apply for me? She's like, okay. Or she gave me I don't remember how, we kind of did the application, the initial application. So I left with a van that morning. Next morning, I'm driving the van and everything is fine. I get a phone call from David and said, David, hey, how's the car? Oh, I'm good. How's everything good? And he says, Yossi, did you lost your driver's license? I said, yes. Who told you that? He's like, well, I found that out from your mom. I'm like, oh, mom has to tell everybody what happened. So he's like, after work today, why don't you just bring me the van back and we'll talk some more. And that's when he talked a little bit. Hey, listen, Yossi, I'm going to go to America in a couple of weeks. I need to do a conference with the CMA. let me know if you think about it and, apply for. So I'm like, yeah, whatever. So I'm sitting again at home, no license, no car, no nothing. So I'm like, God, what do you have for me? And I'm, ta-da, have you seen those cartoons with a light coming up? That's what happened. I have an uncle in Hickory, North Carolina, and he has a car dealership. Maybe I can call him and I can at least wash his cars. He'll feed me for the next 3 months. Or, at least it's better than sitting here. So I called him and he says, sure, come over. I'm like, okay, good. I won't tell you the visa process and all that baloney, but anyway. So I told David and Marilyn, David, I'm going to America, woohoo. And they're like, good, because I'm going to be there also for the conference. Why don't we meet? Because his in-laws live in North Carolina and my uncle in North Carolina. Why don't we go to meet and go together to Toccoa Falls College, which is in Georgia. I said, sure, whatever, So I gave him my number, my uncle's number, and he did, and we met and we went to college. And I'm telling you, I've never seen so many blondes in one, I'm talking about girls, in one place at one time ever in my life. And I'm like thinking, maybe God does call me to this place. This is definitely God. And praying about it, seriously, I did pray on a serious prayer. And I remember this. And I said, God, if it is your will, open all the doors for me to do that. But if it's not, and I hope it's not, I remember even praying that, I don't want to go. So I needed a student visa. That means I needed a sponsor. I needed to have a sponsor even for the college and for the visa. I needed to finish my GED. That was the most important thing. So what I did is, so we went to Toccoa Falls College. We came back, and I said, you know what, God, I'm going to do everything in my power to get accepted. But you have to work on this because I have no idea what the GED is. And I remember going to the next day to the GED local office. It was at the community college, and I told the lady, I think it was after work, about 3 o'clock, and I told the lady, I need to take my GED. She looked at me, good, tell me a little bit about yourself, blah, blah, blah. And I told her, and she says, okay, well, you can sign up here, and you'll take math for 3 months on this computer and whatever, and then after you get that, you get tested, and blah, 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 and blah, blah. I said, no, you don't understand. I just want to take the test. They're like, well, don't do that. I said, I just want to take the test. Why can't I just take the test? She's like, hold on a second. She went to talk to the manager, and she came back, and she says, okay, if you want to take the test, it's up to you. It's your money. This is how much it costs. And I said, okay, let's do it. I'm ready. Let's do it now at 3 p.m. She's like, no. You come tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock or whatever, and we'll take it. Great. So I came with the money and took the GED. I still don't remember nothing what the test was, except it was multiple choice. And what was good is I needed to write an essay. So by then, it's a long story, but I was here 1 year in America in between on my 10th grade. And I learned how to write a little bit. So I told them about my story. I thought maybe this person is a Christian and he knows. I wrote a little bit about my testimony and how God is calling me maybe to Toccoa Falls College. Maybe they'll, let me pass. And guess what? 2 days before I was supposed to give the answer to the college and go for the wind term, I think it was 96. Or 97, I got accepted. I got my GED, that I passed everything. And I still have that diploma. I'm so proud of it. My wife actually saw it. I got to college, and I have no idea what I'm doing here. And I'll tell you this, one verse that constantly worked with me that God was speaking through is Romans 8, 28 and 29. It says, "And we know that God causes all things to work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to his purpose. For those whom he foreknew, he also predestined to become conformed to the image of his Son, so that he, God, his Son, would be the firstborn among many brethren." And I kind of, all my life, I kind of said, "God, I don't know what you're calling me for," but when I knew that he was calling me to something, I said, "God, I'm going to do my best for this, but I need you to do the rest." Same thing in college. I didn't have a way to pay. I did have half scholarship, half international scholarship. Praise God for Dr. Alford. He passed away. He was the president then. But it was many, many thousands of dollars I had to pay every semester, and I would not be accepted the next semester unless I paid everything. And God, every semester, provided a job for me. He didn't, some semesters, actually, even someone gave money to the, and I love that one because I used to see Mr. Dodge there from the control, the one who needs to tell me I owe money and I can't take finals. Every semester he would say to me, "Yossi," and I remember I learned who he is. He learned who I am. And we would pray together that God will provide. And he will let me take the finals, and then I cannot come back until I paid my whole bill. But he, one semester, said, "Yossi, somebody out of Connecticut just put $5,000 for any Israeli student from Israel, Israeli student, Jewish Israeli students, I think he said, that is here. And since you're the only one, you get all the money. But you can't have it until you write a thank you note. And I need to read it." And I did. But I want to tell you how God works. Over and over and over. If we are faithful with the little bit that he has given us into his call, that we need to get up and do something about it, he's always faithful to fulfill his part. Don't ever forget that. We must be faithful and do our best in everything that he calls us to do, but he takes care of the rest. So that's what I learned over there. And other things I wanted to share, but it's kind of a little bit too late. But I want to encourage you. When God calls you to do something, don't underestimate the power of God's call. I remember and over when God called Abraham, what did he do? He says, "Get up and go to the whatever, the land that blah, blah, blah," right? You remember that. What did the next verse, what does it say in the Bible? Abraham got up and went. He didn't start doing his calculations of how much does it cost, how much, where, and how, and when, and whatever. He got up and went. I wish we all will be the same. So I want to encourage you. God is still working, and he will work. Help us, God, to be faithful to you, God, right? And we need our prayer, each one of us. And I can share a little bit more about how I became a pastor, which is like a whole different story. That's a miracle by itself. But how God constantly works in our life. Don't underestimate the will of God and the power of God for us. And our faith in him. Do you believe God can do it? I hope so, because he can. He can, and he will. Just let's do our part and follow him. Let's pray. God, I thank you